Now, from CBS 4 News, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Good morning, I'm Jim DeFede, and welcome to Facing South Florida. Roger Stone for governor? This week, the self-described political dirty trickster, the man with a Nixon tattoo on his back, and a longtime advisor to former President Donald Trump, made national headlines when he said he was considering a run for governor of Florida. As part of the Mueller investigation, Stone was convicted of lying to the FBI, to congressional investigators, and for witness tampering. He was pardoned by Trump just before Christmas last year. In his only interview since announcing his possible run, Stone makes clear he does not like the idea of Ron DeSantis running for president. So he is threatening to try and deny him re-election as governor next year by running as a libertarian or some other third-party candidate.
Look, I have no illusions about my ability to become elected governor of Florida. That's not the point here. I believe that Governor DeSantis, assuming he's going to run for re-election, should pledge to the people of Florida that he will fill out all 4 years of a second term. What I don't want to see is for him to be reelected and then immediately abandon Florida to run off and run for president, particularly if he's running against Donald Trump, who I think has earned the right to be the nominee if he chooses to be. Now, I'm not saying the former president's going to run. I don't know that he's made that decision. But I do think, given particularly the fact that, in my view, President Trump dragged Ron DeSantis over the finish line in that epically close campaign for governor, that the governor owes it to the people to tell us if he's running for re-election, he was going to actually do the job for 4 years. Then beyond that, there's a number of policy issues where I think the governor talks the talk, but he doesn't really walk the walk.
Which policy issues are you referring to?
Well, I believe that there are as many as 1 million phantom voters currently on the Florida rolls. Let me be clear. I'm not saying 1 million fraudulent votes were cast in the last election. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is between people who never really existed, people who are deceased, people who moved out of state, or people who are registered to vote at residences that don't exist because they're a vacant lot or there's no residential structure there, should be removed from the rolls. I think we're all interested in honest, fair, transparent elections.
Roger, but let me just stop you there. There's no evidence that there's 1 million people. I read the analysis that you forwarded from DeFede, Florida. That's based on a survey that their volunteers took. It can't be considered independent or even verifiable. You know,
I completely, obviously, respectfully disagree with you. The sample of voters was more than large enough to be significant. And I disagree, but there's one easy way to do this. Let's conduct a review of the current state laws. It's not that difficult. Here's an idea. When the state Department of Health determines that someone is deceased, it would be a simple computer program to remove them from the current Florida voter rolls. We don't do that.
So let's go back to the first premise, though, that Ron DeSantis, if he runs for election, which he's indicated he has, although I don't think he's filed yet, that if he runs for re-election, he should serve all 4 years. Are you saying that even if Donald Trump were to ultimately decide not to run, that Ron DeSantis should be precluded from running for president, that he should remain here for 4 years, regardless of whether Donald Trump is the nominee or not?
I think it would be disingenuous to run for re-election if you didn't intend to fulfill the job. I just don't think Florida should be a stepping stone to the presidency. For any person. I'd like to know that he is going to stay here and do the job. Look, I applaud his, for example, his ban on mask mandates. But when some of the largest school boards in the state are thwarting state law and he does nothing about it, then his ban is somewhat hollow. He has the authority as governor to remove from office state or county officials who are violating state law. Again, he needs to walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
So you acknowledge that you would not likely win a contest as a third-party candidate. Would you prefer to see a Democrat, for instance, Nikki Fried or Charlie Crist, end up being the governor if you siphon off enough votes from Ron DeSantis? Is that the goal here?
No, the goal is to keep Ron DeSantis' feet to the fire on a host of issues, including, I think, a deference to President Trump, which he owes. If the president decides to run for president, I think he'd be our strongest candidate. But as you know, Jim, I'm a veteran now of 11 national presidential campaigns, and therefore I know that if one is going to run for president, they have to start at least 3 years early, probably 4. So it would be really dishonest to the voters of Florida to say I'm running for re-election, but I don't intend to fill out this term. I'm going to run for president.
You are a veteran of many political campaigns, as you said. As you sense the spirit in Florida, Ron DeSantis seems to be riding high right now, seems very popular. What evidence do you have that suggests that there may be an opening for you among those who are dissatisfied with him, and how many do you believe are dissatisfied with him on the right?
Well, the people who love Ron DeSantis the most are, of course, the people who have never met him. It would be nice if he said thank you to some of his donors, or if he'd actually meet with the voters. He seems to be allergic to people, but perhaps that's just a different campaign style. I don't think that I would have to get many votes to change the results of this race. I don't have any illusions about being elected governor, but as you may know, Jim, thanks in part to this program, many Floridians know who I am, and many Floridians like me. If you want to take a poll of Republican primary voters and test both of us, I would tell you right now that my favorability is every bit as high as his.
Do you see Ron DeSantis as just trying to copy Donald Trump?
Well, I do think he has a certain Zelig-like quality. Ron doesn't have the warmth of, say, former Governor Charlie Crist. Even if you disagree with Charlie, or you wonder how you can go from being chain gang Charlie, whose policies I think are responsible for the mass incarceration of a lot of Black people when he was Attorney General, to being the old Barack Obama's greatest supporter and a liberal Democrat. That's quite a leap. But on a personal level, Charlie Crist is one of the greatest politicians I've ever met. He's warm, he's friendly, he likes people, he remembers your wife's name, he remembers when your birthday is. He's a truly great politician. Ron, I don't think, connects with the people in a way that Donald Trump does. And when Governor DeSantis says, those guys there in the back, that's the fake news, well, that works for Donald Trump. I don't think it works for Governor DeSantis. He needs to have his own style, his own personality. Politics, and you and I have discussed this, is a business for extroverts. Ron appears to me to be an introvert. And if you're not able to mix with the people, or if you have some kind of imperial view of yourself as being above the people because you went to, I don't know, Yale and Harvard, I don't think that makes you a great candidate.
If you don't mind, I just want to widen out to just a couple other issues. Let's talk about January 6th.
There's nothing to talk about. I know nothing about it. I was not there. I categorically reject and deny any insinuation, claim, assertion by anyone that I had advanced knowledge or was in some way involved. Let's be very clear. I was not on the ellipse. I did not march to the Capitol. I was not at the Capitol. I never left the grounds of my hotel on that day. I was as shocked as every other American when I saw this unfolding on TV.
What hotel did you stay at?
I stayed at the Willard Hotel. And if there was a war room there, that would be unbeknownst to me. And anyone who thinks that Steve Bannon and I would be in the same room after he perjured himself on the stand at my trial should know better. So that's what you call guilt by association or smear. There's literally nothing there. And anyone who claims otherwise would be grossly irresponsible and may be guilty of defamation.
Well, this is why I'm asking you, because there are pictures of you at the Willard Hotel. So I just wanted to, just to be clear, you never visited the war room, never spoke to any of those people associated with the war room.
Absolutely true.
Okay.
I've never heard of one of these guys, somebody named Eastman, who I have no idea who that is. I certainly know Rudy Giuliani, but I had no conversations with him between Election Day and January 6th. In fact, I've had no conversations with him that I can think of after that.
What about with the president? Did you speak to President Trump between Election Day and January 6th?
I did not.
Did not. Okay. When was the last time you spoke to the former president?
That would be at the time of that he unconditionally pardoned me just before Christmas.
Do you believe Donald Trump won the 2020 election, or do you believe that Joe Biden won the 2020 election?
I think that there was an extraordinary number of anomalies and irregularities in the 2020 election that, at a minimum, bore substantially more examination than they got from the courts or the state legislatures. And I leave it at that. I'm a political scientist. I'd like to see an examination of the evidence. There are precincts in Philadelphia where more people voted than are registered to vote. Was there enough fraud in the election to change the result? There's never been an actual fair examination of that question to determine it.
Except all of the court cases, all the opportunities that the Trump campaign had to present that evidence, in which they never did. All of the reviews in Arizona and in the other states that have conducted their own reviews have found no widespread fraud.
The problem here in Florida is not the last election. Once again, I'm not asking for an audit of the last election. I'm asking for a review of the state election rolls to determine that everybody on them is actually real and a qualified voter.
But just the broader point, when you question the efficacy of the election, whether or not they're phantom voters, undermining confidence in the electoral system, doesn't that do extreme damage to our democracy? If nobody is confident that the president is really the president and they don't treat him as such, isn't that problematic?
Jim, what's a much greater danger to our democracy is the censorship of free speech. The idea that if you have an idea that's unpopular or that you disagree with, that you shouldn't be able to state it on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, or that you be essentially canceled by all media outlets. That's why I appreciate your opportunity and your invitation to be here this morning. But no, I actually think the censorship of free speech is a much greater danger to our democracy than questioning the outcome of an election.
When we come back, we'll talk to Miami Beach Mayor Dan Gelber about the possible ban on alcohol sales after 2 a.m. on South Beach. Stay with us.